This topic is near and dear to my heart because for most of my life, I have experienced mental health struggles. And although I sought help in my teenage years from various avenues, including going to counseling and going to my doctor, because I masked my symptoms too effectively and because I was too high functioning, I didn't end up getting the support I needed early enough. And it wasn't until I was almost 30 that I got my three mental health diagnoses and finally got on the right medication and also into the evidence based treatment that worked best for my diagnosis. I participated in dialectical behavior therapy, which was 2 hours every Monday for 6 months. I had to take some time off of work to do it, but it absolutely changed my life. It didn't feel good. I didn't enjoy it. It was very challenging. And yet, because it was designed by people like me, for people like me, the tools I gained from dialectical behavior therapy were some of the most impactful I've ever learned. All of that to say, in my own mental health journey, I have sought resources. It's been a passion of mine to figure out what's going on and what can I do to help myself. So that's where I'm sharing this from is my own personal lens and how these strategies and this knowledge has helped me. This is based on the polyvagal theory. I think that's enough of a preamble. Let's sink our teeth in. This is my handout called Breathing and Emotions, the Vagus Nerve. There's a really awesome overlap between my work as an everything SLP with my cognitive communication experience, with my own personal mental health journey, and with the science of cranial nerves and how it connects to our vocal tract system and breathing, all of which are crucial components for the rehabilitation work I do every day, all day. So I call this handout Breathing and Emotions, the Vagus Nerve. And the first thing I want to let you know is that any intense emotion, such as rage, shock, danger, anxiety, or panic, significantly impact the cognitive processes of anybody in the world. So, your average Joe, when they're feeling these heightened emotional states, are going to have challenges with perception, focusing on what is said, learning new information, recalling things they've learned in the past, making sound reasoning and decision making and problem solving. In a nutshell, strong emotions greatly impact anybody's ability to think clearly. After a brain injury, a common symptom is emotional lability, where it feels like people are on an emotional roller coaster. Small things that would never have set them off are now bigger issues, and it's harder for clients to regulate their emotional response and give an appropriate reaction because the emotional brakes in their brain have often been damaged as a result of the collision or the blow. On top of that, feelings of sadness, frustration, and loss are common after a brain injury. And due to the invisible nature of a brain injury, it's not understood at all. People find they have to mask and pretend that they don't have the difficulties they do. And they're faced with invalidating comments all the time. Oh, you don't look that bad. You don't sound that bad. It's incredibly harmful and dismissive of the person's internal lived experience. Please don't say those things. How do emotions impact us on the unconscious level? Tapping into biology a little bit, we have unconscious processes that our body just does for us. We don't have to think about breathing, our body just does it to keep us alive. We don't think about blinking, we just do it. So these actions are controlled by our autonomic nervous system. This blue represents when we are relaxed. It is called the parasympathetic division of our autonomic nervous system. When we are relaxed, our pupils constrict so that we're able to focus on visual details in our environment. We are salivating to help with digestion. Our airways are constricted, our heart rate is slowed, we are digesting in our stomach and in our intestines, and our reproductive system is ready for action. Conversely, the red state over here is the sympathetic division or the fight or flight. Humans are so complex and interesting that even when we think about a perceived threat, or if we think we're in danger, or we perceive danger when there's not real danger, our body can't tell the difference between a thought and reality. So you will unconsciously put your body into the fight or flight sympathetic state of being, or you'll get there if you're triggered. Lots of people after a collision have PTSD. So the sound of a door banging or somebody knocking on a window can cause a big startle reaction and put someone in fight or flight. When this happens, our body, without our conscious control, automatically dilates our pupils. So we are expanding our gaze so that we can see any danger in our environment. We no longer produce saliva because it's a non-essential function to fight for our lives or to run for our lives. Our airways dilate. They are sending more oxygen to our muscles so that we can fight or flee. We stop digesting, our heart rate increases, liver releases glucose to give us energy to run or flee, kidneys release adrenaline, our bladder relaxes, and reproductive system decreases blood flow because we're not thinking about reproducing when we're fighting or fleeing for our lives. Now, constant streams of intense emotion like fear, frustration, anxiety, and anger are known to overtax your autonomic nervous system with stress signals. It's almost as though you've got one foot on the gas pedal and one foot on the brakes at the same time. Your body is fighting with these conflicting signals and trying to get your body into homeostasis, but is constantly getting hijacked into fight or flight mode. One solution to this problem is breathing. Breathing and emotions are directly linked. When you're in fight or flight, your breathing goes high in your chest because you're getting ready to run or fly for your life. On the one hand, when we perceive danger, our body reacts by high, shallow chest breathing. Interestingly, this system works in the opposite as well. Over time, I've caught myself a few times in this video. I'm hunching over on my desk, or for whatever reason, we have bad posture, which makes diaphragmatic breathing more difficult because it's more difficult for your diaphragm to pull down and displace your guts because you're all schlumped. So lots of people resort to chest breathing or chronic stress from work or carrying children or heavy lifting. There's lots of different reasons why we resort to high, shallow chest breathing as a bad habit. However, high, shallow chest breathing as a habit can tell your body that you are in danger, whether you are or not. That is the connection that we have between the rate of our breath and our emotions on the unconscious level. So, as a reminder, we have our chest muscles that pull our chest up and out when we breathe in and down when we exhale. But we don't want to use those muscles. Instead, we want to use our diaphragm. Our diaphragm under our lung contracts, shoving our belly out. And when we exhale, the diaphragm relaxes, our lungs shorten, and air is expelled. And it's called diaphragmatic or abdominal or belly breathing because the only cue we have is our belly going in and out because we don't have nerve endings in our diaphragm to feel when we're actually doing it correctly. So the good news is, just as bad habits tell us we're in danger, we can hijack our own neuroanatomy and take control of our breathing, move it from high, shallow chest down to slow, diaphragmatic breathing. And simply by reducing our rate of breathing, if the average person has about 12 to 18 breaths per minute, slowing your breath rate to about 5 to 7 breaths per minute is enough to train your body to get out of the red fight or flight zone and into the blue relaxed state of being. With practice over time, diaphragmatic breathing has a positive impact on psychological states. It often improves symptoms of anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic response. So, of course, this is a really important tool for my clients to have in their tool belt. Not only for cognitive communication disorders after traumatic brain injury, but also for my voice disorders clients who carry a lot of psychological stress and tension in their voice, or for clients who have any sort of neck injury or swallowing disorder. I do want to flag, however, that for clients, beginning to attend to breath can itself trigger cues of danger and might cause a fight, flight, or freeze response. Please engage in this carefully. And if you experience a protective response of fight or flight, please discontinue and only try again in the presence of either a trained healthcare practitioner or a family member or a loved one who can be there to help ground you and help you regulate through that experience. The vagus nerve is translated as the wandering nerve because it's the longest cranial nerve and it loops around and it controls many of our systems. Breathing and phonating or producing voice both positively stimulate the vagus nerve and helps put you in that blue parasympathetic relaxed state. So let's review 3 different options for how to maximize your breathing with vocal fold involvement as well for extra benefit. The first exercise is resistance breathing. This could be probably subtle enough that you might be able to get away with it if you're working in close proximity to others, like in a cubicle. It's called resistance breathing because you are bringing your vocal folds almost together and you're producing an H sound. So we are partially restricting airflow, and this increases our vagus nerve activity. The next form I love. My body automatically makes me sigh several times a day. Sighing regulates the autonomic nervous system. So if you yourself catch yourself sighing, lean into it. Catch it and just really savor the sigh. And if one doesn't naturally or spontaneously arise, you can induce one yourself. In another video where I teach vocal warm-ups, the yawn sigh is one of my absolute favorites. It's exactly what it sounds like. You inhale like you're taking a yawn, and you exhale on a sigh. And finally, there's the classic singing, humming, chanting, or gargling. I used to sing 24/7, and it actually got to the point where in high school, I've gotten in trouble for singing under my breath in class. I just used to sing all the time, and I think it was a way of me naturally self-soothing my own nervous system. I would feel sick and anxious before school every single day. I felt super nauseated. And in hindsight, I'm pretty sure it's because of undiagnosed neurodivergence, and I was masking all the time. So, singing not only is a great way to regulate your parasympathetic nervous system, but there are some people who also use it as stims. And stims, we know, like hand flapping, rocking, cricket feet, hair twisting, blinking, looking at shining things, mouth noises, chewing your lip, picking your nails. There's tons of behaviors that are called stimming that help regulate your autonomic nervous system. Importantly, I am not a mental health therapist. There happens to be a lot of overlap between my work as a cognitive communication therapist and people with mental health disorders. Whether those mental health disorders cause things like voice disorders or difficulty swallowing, or mental health symptoms as a result of life circumstances like a traumatic brain injury from a motor vehicle collision, obviously that changes a person's entire life and they have every reason in the world to be emotionally distraught. From personal experience, through extra workshops and a ton of research, I don't know of any harm that can be caused by me sharing my lived experience and my special interest with people because holistic approach to rehabilitation is the best. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this resource helps you as much as it helped me. Good luck and take good care of yourself.